about Cape Roger Curtis some months ago, in which I found myself saying something about the pain that I was sensing about the heart of this community and how it felt like it was dying over divisive issues. So I'm here now on the board of the Conservancy, now on the board for Cape Roger Curtis, and hopefully on not too many others, because I feel very strongly I'd like to make a contribution to uplifting the spirit here on the island. I understand Council has just made a proposal about becoming a CERC. What is that? A compact, efficient, rural community. I don't know what that means, and I'd like to learn about it, particularly in my roles. But I'm here to make a proposal, and that is to all the different committees that are working separately from each other, that it would be a wonderful time this spring, perhaps before the election creates more divisiveness in the community, to come together around things that we can agree upon about the vision for Bowen Island. I'd like to see discussions about whether you're an old member of the community, and I'm not talking about birthdays, or a new member of the community, but to have some situations in which all old and new members can come together and have some conversations, share some joy, and also learn some things. And so I'm focusing this around ecosystems, and I include human beings as a significant part of the ecosystem culture on this island. And I'd like us to have the opportunity not just to be communicating through the wonderful newspaper, not through just websites, but to have our physical presences come together. And I don't know where that can happen safely, what the hurdles are to jump through in order to have a gathering of community. I've never had the responsibility for doing something like that. But I'd like to invite the various committees to come together and the businesses and say, can we have some lectures about ecosystems on this island? Can we have some information about xeriscape gardening for the dry summers? Can we have some information about fire protection and emergency response team, of which I'm also a member? Are there ways that we can share with members of the community who have either grown tired of listening, fed up with volunteering, or who are just simply new to the island and don't have a clue? Can we have some situation, Mayor Bob, Council, which would be supported by the municipality in some form or fashion, even in facilitating making that happen, to pull us together and to have some joy and to have some song and dance about how we're going to live with this new ecological greenhouse life here, and set ourselves as an example for sharing information, not just as ecotourism, but as a community itself.
So I hear you making a proposal, or...
Gee, I don't even know what it would take to make a proposal. I'm so ignorant. However, I would move toward a proposal, whatever it takes.
Great. Look forward to it. We have a question here. Eagle Cliff Road is about to fall into Howe Sound. You heard it here first. And take a new home under construction with it. Explain road maintenance program for the island. So I think this sort of speaks to road issues. Dave, I see your hand go up.
I was going to say for the collapsing road in Eagle Cliff, in actual fact, the owner of the property below the road has just poured a huge retaining wall down below. And while the road is subsiding a little bit and blocked up with plywood right now, it's a temporary thing, and they're apparently going to repair the road as soon as the reinforcement down below is in place.
Okay, so I presume you're working with Public Works on that issue?
I believe so.
It's affecting our road allowance and road building.
They're below the road allowance, but they had to shore the road up to access, get the equipment down there.
Oh, I see. Right. And I hope that is an answer to whoever posed it. Our next person on the speakers list, Alice Jennings.
Hi. I went into the municipal site today and saw this wonderful news that said, whereas the resurfacing of portions of Hummingbird Lane was identified in July 2006, and furthermore, etc. Anyway, it says that we are going to get paved an asphalt surface for all our suffering, and I want to know if you've passed this or not.
Monday night.
Monday. You can.
This Monday, or so I can come there and woohoo? I do that on golf course too. Now, when you say an asphalt surface, do you mean more of that horrible stuff you put on after that we had to pay for Cove Bay water? Because that was a disaster scene, and nobody better ever approve that bumpy mess that I feel is unsafe. It's been horrible. I mean, Ruth Burns had to pick Ruth up. Her car went over again on that road. And that's my other question is, we have all these roads with problems, and I go to the golf course, so I get to ride a lot of roads too. And there's a lot of roads with some problems, and I wonder what our liability is as a community, and whether, now that we know some of these things are unsafe, if you've been informed, do we as a community have to cover some liability when some things happen on very unsafe roads? And just as an adjunct related to the Dorman Road situation now, that road is not safe. Today I was coming down the hill and there were people walking along, and the side where they're going to walk is so covered with gravel, somebody's going to go zip boom.
Somebody already passed it.
Oh, I'm sure. And I've fallen down that cliff one night, and so have my kids. Now, we're going to be liable for that. We should have some, at least immediately, some kind of fencing along there. It's a disaster. Now we've developed the beach down at the end of Hummingbird Lane. People are walking up from the cove along there. I'm really worried about that section of road. It is, my grandkids are going by there all the time. I dare any one of you who is a biker to bike up that road and do it safely. It is horrid.
Will this be?
Now that's Dorman. Hummingbird is beyond compare. Come along and visit. For years, people have been saying to me, "Do you pay taxes?" It's horrible.
Monday night, Will Hilson, who is our engineering tech who wrote the report that you were reading, is basically going to present a case for and recommending sort of a works plan for Hummingbird. So I think that would be for anyone who is interested in that subject, 7:15 at Municipal Hall. It's a good place to be.
And all these, our taxes have gone up hugely, especially our waterfront properties, hugely. And I think that we should dispute our assessments if we don't have better access, safe access.
What you're saying is clear. We need clarity on what's happening at the Dorman Road.
And I think
there's got what is the plan? Where you've asked that clearly. The referendum or your petition, states that clearly. So I think you've made your case, and council's here to listen, and staff are here to listen, and so we need to respond clearly in the short term to what's the plan on that.
Just to follow up on that,